All right. Um, I thought my one method was going to work, so I really am going to have to go at this the old school way. Rubber mallet. So hopefully this works out right. Now, again, what I was talking about with um, the cam won't focus right, but you can actually see how there's a rounded, it's actually rounded on the edges and not actually cut like how it normally is. To do that, when you go to Highline Guitars on YouTube, Chris Monick, he shows how you take one of these grinding wheel things, you put it on your Dremel, and you take like a little round tip diamond head, and as it spins around, you just kind of cut a groove into it. Now, what you see here, I was also trying to grind an angle from the tip, but this is basically after cutting 21 frets and grinding them. And this is one of the things he also says as well, is that the buy a lot of these because you will go through them, especially with stainless steel. And I can confirm that when you start going through this with stainless steel, it hardly goes. There's not much of it left for it to do. Now that said, I've already pre-fitted my 21 frets, and unfortunately, they're not going to be going in perfectly or perfectly lined up, so I'm going to have to manually put them in. And on top of that, as you can see there, I am going to, whereas this one here is actually lined up perfect, but this top one is that much off, I'm going to have to end up going and filing these anyways, so that's going to be crappy, but hey, this is how you learn to do a fret job. And you know, that was the whole point of this, was when I got this other cheap guitar, was this was a cheap neck and it was going to be my first experience. And instead of using the junky frets, again, I went with a stainless steel fret because the only way you're going to tell is to scrub with one of the hard materials in doing it. So again, anyone who's wanting to do this, again, I further encourage you to waste the $16 to $30 on a set of stainless steel. That way you can understand how to do this yourself better, and then when you eventually start doing it a few more times, it'll probably get better for you. That said, how I manually cut these was again with the big old school wire cutters, and people said that it's like real hard to cut this. I would say it is to a certain degree, unless you have a really good nipping tool or a really good grinding tool that would actually help to get through this. So anyways, throughout this video, I'm just going to take them from the corresponding fret, and I'm just going to old school bang it in with the mallet. And I know I should be doing it with a press, but it'll be better this way, and I'm sure it'll be also entertaining for people on, how to do it or how not to do it. So let us start again by lining up the second fret and making sure I have it positioned right. Because again, as I said, some of these are definitely longer than what they should be. Now I'm using the hard rubber mallet because it's still soft enough to keep to not damage the fret itself. Okay. Here is the second fret, and this one I did not line up properly, and you can see how it's over on that side and just barely short on that side. So that isn't going to be too much of a problem. And again, the reason why a paper holder isn't that great, and just for precautionary sake, we will move that over to here. So again, carefully lining this up. Actually, let's also move this stuff out of the way too, because it'll create less banging around. This time with this fret, we have a almost perfect alignment, though again, a bit sticking out on this edge, a slight bit on this edge. Let's fold this over again for another kind of layer of protection. Again, excessive hangover, but again, you can see how the frets are coming along. Just taking my time, making sure to get them in the slots and line them up as best as possible. Ow. And the last one. And just give the remaining tap. Now I'll switch the camera to autofocus, or the webcam to autofocus. Alright. So, there's the tear out, but you can see where there's fronts where I gotta actually further remove, and fronts where it's just about right. But I would say that stainless steel is definitely a pain in the ass, but again, it's not that bad. And again, there's tear out from before, but again, I think at the end of the day, you really can't tell where there is actually tear out. But so that is that. I guess my next step will be to go in with a file and get some of these excess bits, which I'll show here on the other side of the neck, how bad they actually are. You can see some of them, it's quite a bit of an amount. Others, it really isn't that much. If I can get the cam to focus, I can show you at least how the rounded frets came out, or at least the spherical fret ends. Though they're not going to be spherical once I'm done all the adjusting to the excess over the edges in some instances, but you get an idea what it kind of looks like having that spherical kind of thing. So again, that's where the first two frets came out when I started, and it looks rough and there's tear out, but as you can see later on up the fretboard I started getting the hang of it, and there was like little to no tear out, and then one spot there and a spot there where the fret was really thin. So anyways, that takes care of that. And again, difficulty level, I would say you definitely have to have some experience in tilt the webcam up here, push this back. In regards to the actual doing it, again, as I stated, probably minimal woodwork experience, minimal metalwork experience. Basically, if you know how to grind or cut metal, then you can pretty much do it. And the only real thing that's a big issue is, as you've seen with the closer look to the fretboard, is heating up the frets enough to get them to loosen up. As someone else had suggested, to bow the fretboard back also would probably help. Zip, I believe, mentioned that, and as well, your biggest problem, and as was the problem on this neck, was again the material of the fret that was left. That fret down at the very bottom there, if you ever go back and look at the video where I'm playing this, you can see there's like little to no fret. And in regards to the actual fretboard radius, 12 inches, a 12-inch radius was exactly the perfect radius that I ordered from these. And yeah, like I said, really shouldn't, once I tape it all up, it really shouldn't give me that hard of a time to kind of file the frets kind of back into a better position on the neck. I don't have the rest of the parts for this guitar. I do have the tremolo, another Wilkinson tremolo coming. Again, those Wilkinson with the compensated staggered wire pieces in the block, in the big block, and the best Strat tremolos you can get of relative availability and with a vintage look still. Beyond that, folks, yeah, I'm all over the place again, but I am tired. I spent probably in total, I got the fret wire basically when I uploaded the first video, which was, I don't know, around 1, and it is currently about 9:40 Eastern, so taking a dinner break to make dinner for myself and my mother. Again, as some people know, and as some other don't know, you know, I have to do cooking for my mother because of her health conditions. So anyways, so probably I'd say like about a half hour, 45 minutes break in between that time. Again, the most time consuming part is actually the measuring, the cutting, and the grinding of the frets. Once you get past that, as you've seen, knocking the frets into place is like nothing whatsoever. It's the finer detail stuff as well as the major measuring stuff that's the big kind of thing in regards to it. So if that's said, again, hope everyone's doing well. Hope everyone has a good morning, evening, night, wherever you are. And this is going on to 30 minutes, so I will wrap it up for now. Have a good one, folks, and catch us later.